Alright everyone, today we're going to take a look at another champion that is free to play. So we're going to take a look at Visix. And she's a little bit of a weird one because on the one hand, a lot of people, they're looking at her and they're like, yeah, well, she's not that amazing. But I have to admit that I had a lot of fun with my Visix. She's useful in a lot of areas, but she can also be very annoying to opponents. So there's a couple of things where she really excels, where she's also super useful. And I think with a few builds, you can make, or a few different builds, a few little tweaks to her, you can make her a quite interesting character. So we're going over a few of the points that she supplies to the game where you would use her normally, and then also a couple of tweaks that might make her more interesting if you're just trying to go down a bit of a different path. So without wasting too much time here, let's jump in and take a quick look at her. Okay, so Visix is a Dark Elf, and she's also Void, which is usually quite nice. Aura, honestly, you can mostly disregard it. I don't think I ever actually used her aura. If so, then it's mostly in faction crypts, obviously. It's very specific on that end, but it doesn't really happen a whole lot that you go for a full-on defense aura or that you need it. Now, she is a defense-based champion. She's not really too book-hungry, as you can already see her on her A3 here. You have an attack all enemies, and you're placing a provoke, which is kind of nice, and then you also have a shield in addition to that, but it's more so about the provoke than anything else, and you have the whole thing on a 3-turn cooldown. On her A2, you get even more debuffs, so the decreased speed here is quite important. Also, again, another attacks all enemies, and you have an ally protection. So she's essentially a defense champion that is trying to slow down the opponent, to taunt them, buffs herself a little bit also with that shield, and what you're mainly going to do is you try and survive and you try to just focus the aggro of the opponent's wave on you. The A1 is also interesting, firstly because you attack twice, and then also you have a chance to decrease the target's turn meter, which is always quite nice, and you increase your own. So if you generally look at the consensus here, she's very solid for Hydra. If you have champions that are working with taunts, it's usually doing well in Hydra in general. For Faction Wars, she's great. She's helping with the Fire Knight a little bit because of that turn meter control and the double attack. And outside of that, she's kind of alright, but nothing where she excels too much. You can use her in Doom Tower, for example, in the Cursed City, and also when we're talking about something like Grim Forest, she can be really nice there too. She's essentially a wave controller. That's what she does the best. So if you are trying to look for a speed decrease, if you're looking for that taunt, she can really help you to control waves on the other side, which makes her, at least from my perspective in Doom Tower, also very strong. When I got her initially, I used her mainly in Doom Tower, and we're gonna go a little bit over the build that I currently use, but also I want to talk a bit about a build that I used for a very different purpose, and which gave me a lot of fun with her. So, as I said, for PvE content, she's great. For the reasons already pointed out, I like her a lot. She's a bit underrated in my personal opinion on a lot of those areas. You don't really use her to, to break through a dungeon. You might be able to control some waves if you're struggling to get your main damage dealers to the final boss. But if you're playing her in Doom Tower, in Cursed City, in Grim Forest, she can really help your Faction Wars as well. Lots of survivability, brings some really nice tools for you with that taunt and also with the decreased speed. So she's, in my book, one of the better legendary champions that you get for free in the game. But let's take a little bit of a look at the build that I'm currently using, and also a build that I used in the past, what kind of masteries and some such we're going for, generally speaking, with her. So I have my own Visix right now in Relentless gear. Main reason for that is simply because I want her to circle through her abilities as quickly as I can. So I want her to get her taunt out as often as possible, and I also want her to use her A2 as often as possible. Generally speaking, since in most cases you really want to land those debuffs, you obviously want her in a decent amount of accuracy. I have her currently at 331, which for most of the PvE content is actually quite sufficient. Crit rate, crit damage, not all that important on her, but of course you want to have her kind of fast if you can. This one is actually not that crazy. I have her currently on 226, but since I mostly use her in some of the PvE content to just deal with waves, that's for most of the content more than enough. And these days, I have to admit, I don't use her as much anymore. My lineup on the main account is just so broad right now that I don't need her. I usually have better alternatives, unless we're talking about specific stages in Faction Wars, then she is still an option. But even for that, I might have to at some point put her in better gear as I'm progressing through Faction Wars hard. And obviously, as with most of the debuffers that you have on your lineup, you want to make her tanky, so eventually she's going to get an increase on hit points, defense, and speed. But as with so much, if you're looking at some of the items, HP gloves usually, defense, chest plate, depends a bit on what you actually want to spec into. Some of the things, as you can see here, are not even fully glyphed through, so I could boost that just simply by using glyphs for her, but she's fulfilling her purpose right now. But that's the idea of where you want to go with her in most cases if you're just looking at the PvE content. I have her in blessings just on cruelty right now, simply because she has, if I want to go for waves, she has 2 attacks that gets her attacking everyone with the A2 and her A3. So if I can decrease the defense on the other side, that's always quite nice. When we're talking about the masteries, I actually have mine right now with the defense and the support tree. If you are looking for bosses, then of course offense tree is always an option, but she's not a damage dealer in any way, shape or form. I just want her to get some counter attacks in. I want her to survive. I have her currently in Fear of Some Presence. Mainly, honestly, because of the provoke, but also because I will talk about the stun in just a second. And then go on the other side when we're talking about support tree, just a little bit in accuracy. Don't even have her on Law of Steel here, which I did in the past. So Law of Steel is something that you can pick up with her as well. You just will have to either drop your delay death on this if you want to go down the defense path or the Harvest Despair. But as I already said, I changed my build a little bit, because the cool things that you can actually do with Visix, and I think it's fun. It might not be the best build with her, but this would be a real recommendation if you guys want to try something a little bit different and are not struggling on waves too hard. What you can do with her is actually put her into a stun set and play her in arena, being a team arena or being it main arena. You gotta get a little bit of lucky with your stats, so if you put her into stun, you still want her to be fast. You essentially want to have a speed lead like Arbiter that you are playing through to get most of your numbers in. And for me, that worked incredibly well. I had a lot of fun playing this team, so I would essentially go in, have my Arbiter take the lead, and then I would have Visix in speed gear. In speed gear and stun gear. Perception works too if you can't hit the accuracy numbers. That's obviously still a big one, so you need to have an amulet where you have accuracy on. You need to also have a banner that has as a main stat accuracy. But then what you essentially also have is, with your masteries, you can then go and additionally apply that stun. Because in most of the arena battles, you never really have to use your A1. So all of the other abilities attack multiple targets. So if you are in arena and you're not just non-stop going up against Stone Skin, for example, you can really do an annoying opponent a lot with this. You have your taunt in that all of a sudden controls the waves, you get the decreased speed, and then if you also have stun gear, you will land decent stuns as well. So through all of these things, so the A3 and the A2, you can now apply a stun on top of a provoke. So if the provoke fails, the stun can still kick in, and if you get your second turn, you have then also on your A2 the option to all of a sudden stun people. And this might sound a little bit silly, and as I already fully acknowledged, this is not necessarily the most prominent build that is out there. You will see stun sets obviously amongst most recommendations as an option at a minimum, because she has so many attack all options, but she's really fun with this. And if you have a decent set of stun gear that is also fast, has a couple of hits in speed, then you will see that a lot of people, especially at the beginning, are going to be completely despairing against it. Keep in mind that she's actually a free champion that you get, so you get her early and then you push her in stun gear. With that, you will have a lot of fun in arena, being a team arena, live arena, or being it, for example, just normal arena. And in live arena, nobody bans her. If you pull a Visix, everybody just looks at you and is like, yeah, he doesn't have anything. Like, what the hell is that? Most people just don't think that you're going to bust out a really fast Visix in stun gear with that taunt on top of that after a speed lead. So if you want to have a little bit of fun with this, if you're not really too bad at wave clear already for your dungeons and for everything else, put her in stun gear and have some fun with her. And even honestly in the PvE content, it's not bad if you have 1 or 2 champions whose only job is to control the opponent as best as possible. So again, Relentless is great, Perception is great, Speed Gear is great, but if you have the option of putting her into stun, I would at least try that out for a little bit, just to have some fun and annoy some people in the arena modes. Either way, she's great. Once you get her, make sure that you get her to 60. She's totally worth it. She doesn't need a whole lot of books. She is a very, very cool champion with very low maintenance, and you don't need to hit any crazy numbers to really get a lot of out of her. So once you get her, my recommendation would to build her, make sure that you hit decent accuracy, get her fast if you can, tanky if you can, but those are basically the most things that you need to think about. And then obviously in regards to gear, my recommendation would be, as long as you hit the numbers, Relentless or Stun. I think she does well in PvE and in PvP. Unless you have some insane options already on your account, she's going to be a huge boon to any early game account and free-to-play account. So, again, try her out. Let me know what you think. If you have other builds that you like to run with her, and if you just build your Visix now, then at least drop a comment and let me know how it worked out for you. Either way, thank you very much for watching the video and for making it this far. Hit that like button, that thumbs up, and I see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.